Welcome to Buckets. This is Action Network's WNBA betting podcast presented by BetMGM. And this is our best bets episode for Tuesday, May 28th. Hope you all enjoyed your Memorial Day weekend. I'm Maria Marino, back here with Dano Mattia. And Dano, the last time we spoke, we did our Friday Best Bets episode. Did pretty well. We talked quite a bit about Fever Sparks, and we get a rematch here on Tuesday. But why don't you start by giving us your best bets for this Tuesday?
Yeah, absolutely. We will start. I guess I'll start by saying this. Dogs are eating 22, 8-1 against the spread to start. And that leads me into my picks. So best bets, I am taking the Mercury on the road plus 7.5. Taking the Sparks on the road plus 6.5, and then Chicago at home plus 3.5. I think it's up to plus 4. Love all the dogs, road or away. I don't think it matters at this point in the season. And I also love the over in Phoenix and Connecticut. I think it's at 164.5.
Very nice. It's not quite the dog days of summer, but I mean, maybe we're getting it started here early on this pod. And just real quick, because you brought this up to me, I want to make sure I mention home teams being 10, 20, and 1 ATS. So that's something to pay attention to as we go through this episode. I'm mostly with you, but I'm excited to talk it through. So let's start with this Sparks Fever game, which is a 7 o'clock Eastern tip on Tuesday. And I mentioned this is a rematch from Friday. So the Fever did, in fact, get their first win on the season, which was, I think, an absolute must for them. They're 1-6 straight up on the season, 4-3 against the spread. So they have covered 4 straight, 3 as dogs and 1 as a favorite, which was that win on Friday night, before they got blasted by Vegas on Saturday 99-80, which we all kind of saw coming. It was on the second day of a back-to-back, and the Las Vegas Aces coming off a loss. And also the Aces having a pretty favorable schedule so far, being at home to start this season. Whereas, as we discussed last episode, the Fever have had the hardest schedule. Like, I'm just going to go ahead and say it's really not up for debate at this point. Like, it's the hardest schedule in the league. And I'll go into that a little bit more. But I'm a little bit hesitant on the spread. You like the dog, but I just feel like this one's a little trickier. So I'm a little curious for you to get more into why you like the Sparks plus 6.5.
To me, there's a few aspects I like. I think we're going to see less of Laisha Clarendon. Not saying that they don't need to be playing them. It's just it's good that we're going to see a lot of Rickea Jackson, because Rickea has been phenomenal. Just been eating from at all levels of the court, mid-range, getting to the hole, and hitting the 3. Cameron Brink was unleashed yesterday. My God, 21-17 or 21 points. I don't know how many rebounds she ended up with, but phenomenal game. I think we can trust that she's probably going to stay out of foul trouble a little bit more. And they were up, I think 11 at halftime against the Fever. So it's doable. I think 6.5 is a lot of points for a team that really hasn't proven much and is still figuring out so much in terms of lineups. Caitlin also probably should have had a triple double in that game against the Sparks. Probably like 5 assists to Leah Boston that did not get converted into buckets. A few to other players. And I think Kurt also takes this game a little bit serious. They just had one really bad quarter against the Fever, so
the third.
I see it being just as entertaining as the last time they played.
Yeah, I think it's important to note, like you said, that the Fever looked horrible in the first half of that game. It was ugly. Like, it was to the point. I know I texted you. I was like, should the Fever be getting Lisa Bluter on the phone because, coming out of retirement? Because I'm like, they do not look, I mean, not only did they not look crisp on offense, they just looked completely lackadaisical on defense. Now, that being said, I still want to give the term that everyone's been saying is give grace, right? I want to give a little bit of grace because I do want to emphasize this schedule once again. We talked about it last episode, but let me just be clear. So 7 games in 12 days without a homestand, culminating with that back-to-back, Vegas being on the second night. Now, Indiana finally got a day off Sunday, I assume, and they're able to stay home before this game. And maybe they can even get a practice in, Dano, because let's remember, without a homestand here, you're talking game, travel, game, travel, game, travel. That's how they started the year. Our friend Rebecca Lobo tweeted about this and expanded on this even more with some context. Apparently, Indiana is the only team this season scheduled to play 11 games in their first 20 days. And this is the first time that has happened since the 2011 link. So indeed, this is a historically tough schedule for the Fever. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and excuse just being at LA and looking horrible in the first half and commend them for making the adjustments in the second half. Kelsey Mitchell played way better in the second half. And I also think Caitlin Clark had one of her best games, and she wasn't really scoring the basketball. She was doing everything else, though. So what's interesting to me is, okay, the Sparks definitely, like, it was a close game throughout. Like, to your point, they had that one bad quarter. But I'm also thinking the Fever, again, they know they can beat this team. They know they have to beat this team because the schedule is so tough and they have to take advantage of the games that they can win. And they are actually on a little bit of rest and with some practice time. So that's the only thing that's giving me pause about betting the Sparks.
Yeah.
What say you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you saw the Fever. It's an easy thing to say, oh, they should dominate at home. Clarendon's hurt. But, I mean, Sparks are finding some really good things, even though they're losing games. And, I mean, I've been getting text all day about Brink, Rookie of the Year odds. So, if you, and, just as the betting man, I think Kurt knows this team is probably not going to the playoffs, but he's a damn good coach, and his ego is there. I bet you he wants to get that Rookie of the Year for Cameron Brink.
I think that's a great point. And I think very soon here, I think it's a touch too early, but very soon here on the pod, I want to re-explore Rookie of the Year odds because there's definitely been some debate early on in the season. And you brought up Cameron Brink in the last game against Dallas, which, by the way, was only a 1-point loss. And she had those 21 points. I do still worry about the foul trouble with her. It's been a theme of her career. But you know what? I'm on board with you. You've convinced me. I think I can see, again, Kurt Miller, he is playing for pride. And you saw that Friday night when, what was that incident? Wasn't Caitlin Clark was at the free throw line? And I think Kurt was trying to call timeout to challenge something, but waited a little bit too long. Caitlin made a free throw. He tried to call timeout. Then he iced her. She missed a free throw. She got frustrated. And I believe she ended up getting teed up on the next play. But I remember thinking, Kurt, what are you doing, bro?
Mind games.
But mind games, 100%. Okay. So you've made your case for the Sparks here. Let's get into a couple props before we move on to the next game. I'll just say this. Last episode, we bet Caitlin Clark over 12.5 rebounds and assists. And she cleared it with ease. She had 18 Friday night against LA. Do you want to go back to this? Because I'm tempted, but I'm not 100%.
I believe she had 19. She had 11 boards, right? 11 boards and 8 assists. I threw out 10 assists at plus 550, which I've been on the assist numbers for her from a season long perspective, betting wise, and almost every game. The players are going to start making shots at some point. So I love it. I think 12.5 is still so low just with the usage.
Yeah.
Um, yes, we need players to start making some shots, but I think that was a game that Leah Boston really got out of her slump. So, uh, granted, missed 5 potential assists for Caitlin there. I mean, this number could have been 23. So, uh, I love it. I'm taking it
Yeah.
again, especially at plus odds. I also like Caitlin Clark to record a double double. I would take triple double odds if they gave them to us, and maybe some other book might. Um, but I think it's staying close. I mean, she already did this against the Sparks, right?
Right.
And it wasn't a great game for her.
Right. And here's my only hesitation. Because so to clarify, yes, she had 10 boards,
Okay.
8 assists, I'm seeing 11 points. Now again, I still thought this was a great game by her. She was able to recognize where the team could be productive. She wasn't concerned with hitting shots for herself, hunting her own shots, and she even said in the post game that she was really happy with how she played. Had 11 points. The thing with her is obviously, is it going to be that game script again, or is she going to be having more opportunities to score? And that's the only hesitation. But I overall really like it, and in general, her props, the numbers that they're set at tend to be pretty inflated. Whereas and this is why we liked it the other day, is like you could see it. It's doable. It's not like kind of outrageous for her to get it. So she's cleared it in 4 of her 7 games. The 2 of the ones that she didn't were against Connecticut, and 1 was the last game against Vegas, but she also played fewer minutes than she would probably typically play, given the back-to-back situation and given the fact that Las Vegas was kind of running away with it. Okay, so you kind of like that. Real quick, I do want to mention Kelsey Mitchell again. Last episode, I bet her over 15.5. If it was 15.5 again, I would be betting this right away. I'm a little hesitant. It's at 16.5. I still think it's fine. In her last 5, she scored 16, 18, 17, 17, 17. So, but she's shooting at less than 40% from the field, Dano.
Yep.
And the reason I liked this last time, I'm thinking, okay, she's gonna heat up a little bit. But now I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure if we're gonna see her shoot more efficiently, or if this is just what she is for the time being. She is getting the volume at almost 16 shots per game.
Yeah, and I know last year the shooting splits were definitely a lot higher at home than they were on the road. Shout out to the Betsy Wins podcast, the guys over there who have that information. I remember they were on a lot of Kelsey Mitchell unders on the road. Granted, you were right. The number of 15.5 was just too low with the volume.
Yeah.
So I think I'm fine playing, 16.5 on the over at home, just based on historically how she's been a better shooter.
Okay, very nice. And I like that too, because again, we're talking about a player that, is a little bit older, did have an injury to start the season, maybe does benefit from the rest and being at home. Okay, one more I like. I said before we came on, I'm not going to talk about 800 million props, but like I can't help it. So here we go. Because there was one that you and I both liked as well. Dira Kahambi, over 10.5 boards, seeing it at about minus 114. I just saw she's gone over in 4 out of 5 games. She had 12 against Indiana on Friday, and she the one that she didn't go over was against Las Vegas. She only had 9, but she was also scoring 29 points that game, which is above her average. So that was just more of what she was doing that game. But I think I do like this.
Yes, I can't not bet Hamby. I like the only player I follow on Twitter. Well, her and now Marina Mabry, obsessed. And and that's a tease. But yeah, I'm taking 12 rebounds at plus 134. Also, like I love her.
Okay.
I love her. She's and Kurt. The biggest thing is Kurt loves her. He plays her so many minutes.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And also, if this is a game that we foresee, like it's going to be competitive, like we like the Sparks to be in it, maybe even pull off an outright win. She is going to be playing, and she is going to be, getting all that action. All right. So I think we've hit on just about everything for that game. let's move on to Mercury at Sun, also a 7 o'clock Eastern tip. And I'll just say, starting out, I'm with you on the Mercury plus 7.5 here. So the Sun are a very interesting team. 5-0 straight up, only 1-4 against the spread. All right. They have lost, they have won the last 3 games by 4 points or fewer. So Indiana, Minnesota, Chicago. I will say they have been excellent in clutch time, which is why they've been able to pull off these wins. And shout out to our friend and colleague, Brendan Glasheen, who tweeted the numbers to illustrate all of that. Last time out for the Sun, Alyssa Thomas ejected for a flagrant 2 foul against Angel Reese. I think that's an interesting little wrinkle. And then just quickly to set this up here, Mercury 3-2 straight up, 3-2 against the spread, including 2 covers against Vegas, 1 outright win. Last time out, lost to Dallas on Saturday at home. They were off Sunday. So I'll say this too, another reason why I like this, in addition to the Sun playing a lot of close games, not covering a lot of close games, there's no real rest advantage. Both of these teams played on Saturday. Both have to travel back to Connecticut. So I'm with you on Mercury plus 7.5. Anything else you want to add there?
Yeah, I mean, the over has been dynamite in Mercury games. I want to say it's 4-1. The only one that didn't hit was the Mystics game, and I think they just got up so much and only had 9 points in the fourth quarter. Brutal if you were on Mercury -6 for that game, which unfortunately a lot of people were. It was that's a tough L. But the other piece that interests me, I haven't heard anything about it, and I don't think it's not a situation we've had much in the W, but is there a chance that AT gets any kind of suspension for the foul that got her ejected? I'm not saying it. I mean, I feel like we should have heard that news by now, but
Yeah.
still, either way, if she is playing, I'm banking on her coming out fired up. And
Right.
I also think that Stephanie White has a great coaching staff behind her. She's a great coach. They're going to look at a lot of what Dallas did, which is feed inside and take a lot of threes, so like kind of eliminate that mid-range. Enrique dropped 40. McCowan was awesome inside. Segris was awesome inside. So I think expect big games from Brianna Jones and, of course, AT coming off the ejection.
Okay. Fair enough. So you said you liked the over there. Was there any other prop angles that you wanted to touch on here?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go out on a limb with the Brianna Jones rebounds. She has not gotten over 6, I believe, this season, but she's been on limited minutes, but those minutes have continued to rise. I think this is a game where she can get a lot of putbacks. I mean, she is strong. So I do like that. It's I think the line is set at 6.5, and they've been going under, but I feel like this is the team where it should go over. I also like her points prop. I think it's at 12.5, and she's been going over this the last few games as well. And then lastly, just a sprinkle on the Alyssa Thomas triple double coming off the ejection, plus 750, plus 800, whatever, take it.
Woo! Okay, love it. Yeah, I just think overall when looking at this game, I liked when I saw 7.5. I was like, I could definitely see the Mercury playing and finishing within that number. This is going to be a good one. And also, we've talked in the past on this pod. We've been impressed so far with Nate Tibbetts. So, in the Mercury, they've been playing with a lot of chemistry for the most part. They've been competitive every game. So I'm looking forward to another good one. I don't have a million props on this game, so I guess we can go ahead and move on. So the one other game we have should be another good one. Storm, favored by 3.5 at Chicago. Seattle, 3-3 straight up and against the spread. So they've been your typical sort of middle of the road team here. I mean, they did absolutely destroy Washington by 32 points in their last game. Nneka is doing Nneka things. She's averaging 21-8 in her 4 games. She did miss 2 with an ankle injury. Jewel Lloyd and Skylar Diggins-Smith have been a little bit up and down here and there, but they've been playing to their strengths. Sky Dig has been dishing the ball extremely well. Jewel has had her moments where she's been scoring the basketball, is averaging 19 and a half points. Now, on the other side, my scrappy Sky, that's what I'm calling them. 2-2 straight up, beat Dallas, beat New York. Last time we spoke, you were at Barclays Center, pretty dejected after that loss to the Sky by the Liberty. Sky are also 3-2 against the spread, did cover in that game previously mentioned against Connecticut. And once again, you like the dog, so why don't you explain your thought on the Sky here?
I just think that the Storm really have not had like too much time to gel together, and I'm loving what I'm seeing cohesiveness wise from the Chicago Sky. I don't think a lot of people took them, very seriously. I know I didn't, but what they're getting off the bench from Kennedy Carter is phenomenal. I think Marina Mabry is basically in contention for an all WNBA player. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, I think you can trust on her to put up 20 a night at this point. Wasn't really a facilitator last game, but I think still had 4 assists in the second half. And it's hard to deny that even though Angel Reese is not like the most polished offensive player, just the instincts are absolutely there. Leading the league in offensive rebounds, it's not an accident. She just
Right.
has a great energy about her. And the city seems pumped. I think those home games are going to be really fun all season. So love to be back in them right here.
Yeah, I agree. And when you say not an accident, I mean this is what she did in college too. She was a great offensive rebounder. The instincts are showing. And look, we talked earlier about rookie of the year and is that up for debate at this point? And I think she's definitely one of those that are potentially in contention for an award of that nature. You know what'll be really interesting, Dano, is they do these rookie of the month awards. We're coming up here toward the end of May. Curious to see who's going to be the rookie of the month. But that being said, I've talked about it on this podcast multiple times. I love the Teresa Weatherspoon hire. I think she is clearly so competitive and she's instilling a belief in this team. Another thing I want to talk about that you mentioned is Marina Mabry. I was sitting here thinking to myself, like, she is she needs to start being talked about as one of the best scorers in the W, hands down, and maybe even one of the best players. I agree with you 100% that, like, as of this moment, she should be an all W type player. I mean, she's just been phenomenal. Like, she can score against anybody and she's consistent. And what I love is she really is filling up the box score. And that brings me to a prop that you and I both like for this game. And that is Marina Mabry over 29 and a half points, rebounds, and assists. Now, compare that to the number for Caitlin Clark, I believe was like 32 and a half, which I mentioned before, I think is a little inflated. I feel like that's more along the lines of what we should be getting from Marina Mabry because she's been phenomenal. But yeah, she has cleared that figure in all 4 games, 32, 34, 30, and 31. Now, the one that she had 30, she only scored 14 points, which is well below her season average, 5 points below, in fact. So as long as she is doing what she does, where she is scoring and doing everything else, facilitating and getting those boards, I like this at around minus 112.
Yep, I'm with it. I think it was crazy. Last game, I think it opened at 22 and a half. Got bet up to 25 and a half. Still liked it there. Now we're looking at this number jumping skyrocket to probably still lower than where it should be. I think
Nervous.
this should be at 30. So I'm with you. I do like it, and I think that's probably the best Marina Mabry bet on the board for sure.
Okay, I got one more for you.
Hit me.
Um, Looking at NECA, our girl. As I mentioned, she's averaging 21 points in 4 games. I like her over for points sitting at 18 and a half. This is at minus 130. I'm seeing it. And this is, again, something that has been cleared in all 4 games that she played: 19, 22, 24, 20. And what's nice about this is she's just so efficient from the field. I mean, 63.2% from the field across her 4 games. So even though that 18 and a half seems a little high, a little bit scary, we've seen that that's the formula for this Storm team. And I think we're looking at a competitive game where, NECA has to score. I think that's a very key. I think the biggest key to Storm success is NECA scoring.
Yeah, it's been the most consistent option offensively for sure. And I can't believe this line hasn't been shot up to 20 and a half by now. I feel like it's at 18 and a half every game.
Just in the time that you said that, it's shot up. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
I don't know.
No.
We'll see. Okay, so you endorse that. You're with me on that.
Yeah, NECA overs all the ways, or all the time.
I love it. Interestingly, just an FYI, I'm not sure if I'm going to bet this, but looking at her points and rebounds number at 26 and a half, she's gone over that in 3 of 4, just FYI. So something to take a look at. Was there anything else prop wise you wanted to touch on here?
There was some other stuff, but they've already been moved. This market,
Okay.
Everything moves like crazy. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes. I think they were offering Alyssa Thomas assist, I think, at plus money at 7.5, and I think at plus 350 at 10 assists, which is like something that she's done a lot. So, in Casey's move, it is what it is. A lot of people love the WNBA now, and it's getting to be one of those markets where a lot of stuff is rapidly changing. So that's a good thing overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the idea in the past was that, maybe some of these lines might not be as sharp as some other sports that you're used to betting. If that is true, then as soon as people start betting it, it is going to be adjusted. So definitely something to keep in mind. I have one more question for you, Dano, before we go.
Hit me.
So we've determined you like all the dogs, particularly I want to say for the Sparks and the Sky. Would you consider betting money line?
Yeah. At least with the Sky. I don't know about the Sparks yet. I don't know if I can get behind board.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Caitlin lose.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
Yeah, I'm with you. Fair. Okay. Because I was just curious on like your thought process with that, and if it's, what actually propels you to go ahead and bet money line in certain situations.
Yeah. I guess I've been on the money line with the Lynx a few times, and that's been working out great. Should have worked out even better against Connecticut when I had the double result for plus 750. that ref will forever be shamed by me. Angel Kent.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Well, real quick, since you brought up the Lynx, a good time to mention that you, myself, and our friend Jim Turvey, who comes on all the time, all were high on the Lynx going into the season, and that is looking so far so good. So we like that. Anyway, thank you for indulging me on that. And that concludes our rundown of all the games on Tuesday. Such good games to come. So many ideas for bettings that hopefully everyone listening will have plenty to take away and to consider going into this Tuesday slate. Man, the Brink Clark rematch, like just so much good stuff. So this has been awesome. Dano Mattia, thank you as always for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for listening to Buckets presented by BetMGM. The podcast will be back Friday with more best bets. Make sure you download our award-winning action app if you haven't yet. I'll be tracking picks there. Dano will be tracking picks there. You can track your own picks. It's a wonderful tool to have. So definitely get on that and let's get buckets.